Hi all, I have another very interesting positional game to show you of Leela Chess against the Komodo MCTS version. So it is also using the Monte Carlo tree search rather than alpha beta search. So in this game, D4 was played by Leela. We have the Dutch Defence, and here is the opening book given. We have the Dutch Stonewall formation. So this formation of pawns like this, usually with c6 is the Dutch Stonewall, and white castles, bishop d6, b3, and often this follows a Botvinnik plan of exchanging off the dark squared bishop to try and weaken black further on these dark squares. So this is looking like a really positional opening. So what can Leela do from it? Knight e5 was played here, which suppresses e5 from black, which might be liberating. And yeah, queen e7 stopped the bishop a3 in any case. So here we have castling, end of book. And now, actually, bishop f4 was chosen, not bishop b2. You might have a slight concern, doesn't this run into knight h5, for example? White can just welcome a capture on f4 with e3 hitting the knight. This position is actually quite pleasant for white. That e-file control, the lock on e5, it's quite pleasant indeed. So we have b6 being played here. Knight d2, bishop e7, knight d3, offering the exchange of bishops this way. It's rejected with bishop a3, but that bishop is chased with knight b1. The knight on d3 stops bishop b2 here, and so we do have that strategic exchange in any case of the bishops. Knight d2. We have now queen e7, knight f3. So white is eyeing that e5 square. Knight bd7, rook c1, rook ac8, c takes d5, e takes, and now b4, trying to discourage maybe c5 from black. Bishop a6, queen d2, rook fe8, rook fe1, g6, a4. We have knight e4 hitting the queen goes to b2, c5 now, d takes, and here b takes, and now white is not interested in b5, but in fact playing knight takes c5, knight takes, b takes, rook takes, e3. So the queen has a very nice view on the dark squares here. Does there need to be a form pawn? Would that be useful for that queen? Rook ec8, knight d4, not minding an exchange of rooks. Bishop c4, rook c2, queen f6, rook ec1. This rook drops back to c7. h4, is this the dawn of the form pawn? Rook c5, h5, indeed. This is played. What about g takes, you ask? If g takes, this wasn't played. Bishop h3, there's a dismantling at f5, and for example knight takes f5 is a little tactical trick here with the queen supported by the rook. So for example this position is actually quite nice for white. For example like this, there's dangers like d5 being loose. So in fact black ignored the form pawn installation, which happens now after h6. Yes, very interesting. It's too dangerous to do queen g5. Knight e6, for example, forks queen and rook. So that pawn, it looks as though it might be a liability, but to prove it here, it seems very difficult. King f7, queen b4, queen d8. The queen drops back, queen f6, a5, rook d7. f4, not minding knight takes g3. You might ask, what is this about? Black played king g8. On knight takes g3, there's a tactic. Bishop takes d5 check. Yes, this is quite good. After rook takes c4, this is very pleasant for white, this scenario. Breaking through. In fact, rook e6. Breaking bad for black. Pinning the queen. So f4, king g8. We have now bishop takes e4, leaving potentially good knight versus bishop scenario here. The king goes to g2. We have now rook h1, Queen goes there. G4 supporting the form pawn more firmly with G5 is on the cards now. King G3. We have now Rook F2. Okay. G5 supporting that form pawn. We have now Rook B8. The Queen drops back to A1. Rather elegant. The Queen over on A1 and the form pawn here. A rather aesthetically pleasing position. We have now the Rooks doubling. Rook C2. Rook C. Bishop C4. Queen C3. Some high level shuffling. Okay, offering the exchange of queens. And now this is interesting. Knight E6. Rook B8. Queen drops back. Queen C8. The knight dropped back. So, yep, some probing. So let's see this. Probing stuff. High level shuffling. Indeed. And it carries on for a bit. And people are wondering about the F5 break. Is that going to be on the cards at some point in the future? F5. So it's picking the right moment for White's strategic break. So the Queen's coming off here. And now the F5 break is still potentially on the cards. Rooks come off. And again, F5 is really on the cards. It looks as though it's imminent here. King H4 was played. F5 is actually possible here, it seems. For example, like this, the king takes a walk into black's position, and it could end up with a nice advantage for white, for example, like this. So it did seem possible, but we have some more shuffling instead. Until, yeah, patient, finding perhaps the right time, the most effective time to do the strategic break. And you'll note the H6 pawn is a potentially dangerous passed pawn. Now it's here in this position at move 104. F5 is chosen. We have G takes, King F4, so nice pawn sack, very aggressive king, potentially for G6, H7 and other stuff. King D6 was played. On King F7, then Rook C7 actually is the way to go. It seems to infiltrate like this. This is actually a nice way to play the position, where the dark square infiltration together with G6 is very, very winning for white. So we have King D6, Rook G1, and now G6. So this passed pawn is being created and hitting A6 there. That's protected. Okay, and black just gives up the bishop. It's pretty hopeless here, this position, because of the incoming H7. And yeah, it's just too dangerous. Black gives up the bishop instead, and this is hopeless, of course. This is just a piece down for not much. King walks in, and after this move, it's adjudicated as a win for white. Both engines thought it was absolutely winning for white. So an interesting positional game there, showing Leela is strong against the Dutch Stonewall. The strategy of exchanging dark square bishops was implemented with bishop f4, and with knight on d3 there was no bishop b2. There was no escape from that strategic exchange, it seems. After that, later, Leela got the opportunity to play bishop takes e4, leaving the stronger knight versus bishop. And it seemed the f5 break was always lurking in the possession, and a lot of high-level shuffling until it was played, creating a very dangerous pass pawn from the form pawn. Very interesting aesthetic positions throughout the whole process there. I hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed this game video, please click on the top left box, which should appear shortly. Become a member at chessworld.net, play against other YouTubers. You can also check out channel memberships, and I'll throw you a free 1-month full membership of chessworld.net. I'll be doing a video about that soon. You can also check the YouTube analysis in advance of these games from the improved menu, learn from the masters, YouTube order button. Comments, questions, donations, see the description. Like, share, subscribe with the notification bell. All appreciated. Thanks very much.